Style is the answer to everything. A fresh way to approach a dull or dangerous thing. To do a dangerous thing with style is what I call art.
You borrow two $5 bills, have that packet signed by the spectator, fuse them together into a $10 bill, and immediately hand it out for examination with their signature still across the bill. There are no gimmicks, there's nothing to build. This is nearly impromptu, and you lose no money performing it. Hello, Kyle Purnell here, and you just purchased RePromoted, and I appreciate that more than you possibly know. It's crazy that to think that I'm supporting my family, being able to share my magic with everybody else. So every time that you support me with one of these projects, it means the world to me. So thank you so much. RePromoted is a very drastic reimagining of my 2015 release called Promotion, which was a signed 5 to signed 20, which is really cool, but with it came a variety of issues, some flaws, some limitations. One, it used a gimmick. Two, the gimmick was designed that the change had to be done when the bill was folded in quarters, which wasn't a problem, but it wasn't ideal for sure. And the biggest thing is, if you borrow the 5, which was the method allowed you to do, and that was one of the strengths of the routine, what it did was it made it so that you would have to give away the 20, which sometimes is totally cool, right? It's a $15 investment. I know some of you are shaking your head. Sometimes it is okay to make that investment though. If you're gonna seal the deal on a gig, if you're going to really impress someone that really needs to be impressed and you really wanna make a big impression, that is totally okay sometimes. However, it was certainly a concern or an issue in many people's minds, mine included sometimes. I didn't always want to have to give away that money. So, flash forward almost a decade later, and we have something called RePromoted. And what this allows you to do now is do the exact same effect. The change is a lot more visual because you're doing it with a half of a bill folded in half instead of a bill folded in quarters, and you're going from a 5 to a 10. So even if you did want to do it as a 5 to a 10 change, you'd only be giving away $5 instead of 15, which is great. But there's also a brilliant idea from my friend Vincent Mendoza, and I don't even know if he knew that this was as smart as he was saying it, because he just said it because he's a smart guy, but he was just saying it kind of flippantly. But I took it seriously, and I thought, that's so genius. His idea was to fuse two $5 bills into a 10. So it's the same visual, same method, but you lose no money. Genius. I love it. So that's what you are going to be learning today, the fusing of two $5 bills. And the beautiful thing about this iteration of it is that you do not need any gimmicks. You hardly need any preparation. If you're out and about and you get a $10 bill back for change, you can take that 10, fold it up, and you are ready to go with borrowing two $5 bills. That is all the prep you need. You can get a Sharpie from any place you can carry with you, or borrow any writing utensil. There's nothing special or funny or prepared about it. And then you can go into the routine. So this is what you need, a $10 American bill. It'll really only work with this, a 5 to a 10 or 2 5s to a 10. So this is pretty exclusive to American currency and $10 at that. And the reason is the design on the back of the bill is very close to the design of the building on the back of a 5. The color is pretty close to that of a 5. Now, if you were to just compare the two, you would see, ugh, yikes, one's definitely a lot more of a peachy color than the other. It doesn't matter. For the context of the routine and the way it's folded and the way one kind of goes on to the other, no one will ever tell. I promise. Okay? So, what you do is you fold the bill into 8ths. That's basically it, but you need to do it in a particular way. So the tail side is going to be out. And this portion right here, pretend like this is a little 1/8 of a bill here. This portion is going to be on the outside because this is the portion that is ambiguous with a 5. So when you fold it again, you're going to fold it down with this on the outside. But it's important that as you do that, the side that is going to be visible during the effect is going to be the longer side because you're going to make a little lip. And I'm going to get a real close up here so you can see. Do you see how it's not exactly lined up? That lip is going to help you clean up after the change. Okay? So you crease it thusly. So I got my little lip here. It's okay that these are a little flared. It doesn't matter. You don't have to be perfect there. What matters is that this lip is very easily accessible. Okay? Then you take and you fold it again, making sure that that ambiguous 1/8 here is on the outside and the 10 will be on the other side. Okay? And you crease that as well. That's your preparation. That's all you need. This will go in your right hand. But wait a second, Kyle, aren't you left-handed? I am. It doesn't matter if you're right-handed or left-handed for this particular piece. So don't switch anything. Yes, I am left-handed, but this is the way right-handers and left-handers will do it because this effect is reliant on the design of the bill. And the design of the bill is not going to switch if you're right-handed or left-handed. So this is what everybody's going to do. You're going to place it in your right hand with the opening towards your fingers, outward. Okay? And it's going to be in a finger palm, and you're going to curl your fingers so everything stays like this. So you're going to keep your $10 bill in your right pants pocket, and then you're going to put it in a finger palm when you're ready to perform, and you ask for 2 $5 bills. These are the ones that I'm going to use. Now you'll notice that these are pre-creased. Obviously they will not be if you borrow them. You want to make sure that when you borrow them, they don't have to be pristine by any stretch, but you definitely don't want them super wacky, right? These aren't great. These are, we got some flaring some ways and some flaring the other ways. Yeah, these still work fine. That's not a big deal. But if you have one that is completely just ratty, like a ratty $5 bill, and one's like pristine, probably not the best. You want 2 that are kind of in the same area of being worn, okay? It's kind of the same timeline. That's what we're looking for here, okay? You're going to square them up. And remember, all this is happening while you're finger palming the 10. And you're going to go left hand over, and you're folding all of them in half into one packet. And I'm going to press down with my thumb, then I'm going to crease. You always press with your thumb and then crease. Because remember, they aren't pre-creased at this point. Then I'm going to take my right hand, still finger palming, and I'm going to bring everything over like this, square everything up on this side, and then crease on this side. This is important that you do it from right to left here because you don't want them to prematurely see this, because when you show them again, this will be different. Yes, they've seen the back of a 5 before, but never really in this, so you don't want to give them a frame of reference. So that's why you fold from right to left here, and you crease. Now I reach back inside as if I'm going to unfold it, because I am going to unfold it. I'm going to take this one, and I'm going to just release my pressure a little bit. And as I'm releasing my pressure, and one way to do that is to slightly open up my fingers, it's going to pop open. I'm still finger palming, but it's going to pop open a little bit. If you can't get that, it's okay. You can still wedge it in here. But it's best if you can just open it up just a little bit and it'll pop open. Because what's going to happen is you're going to unfold what you just folded. And as you do that, this is going to insert inside the folded 10 in the action of unfolding everything to show the 5s one more time. So what happened is I just loaded that 10 now in quarters behind it. Okay? So it goes here, I fold it, I'm going to unfold it as I come here and I unfold everything. I use my ring and pinky fingers on both hands to kind of make a little shelf here. I tend to use my ring finger of my left and pinky of my right. That's just what feels good for me. It doesn't matter. You can use pinkies on both, rings on both. It doesn't matter. And I just kind of push it down on this little shelf to make sure it's as square and flat as possible. Okay? From this point, now my internal monologue is almost like an afterthought at this point. Like, oh, at this point, you should probably sign. So I bring it forward here and I go down here. As the performer, you might look at this and be a little scared. You might look, whoa, they're definitely going to see some things here. Because one, this doesn't look like the 5. It looks close, but it doesn't look like the 5. You also see that there is a slight color difference. We talked about that. It's not much, but there is a slight color difference. And also, from your perspective, there's the depth illusion will not work. The depth illusion I've talked about in some of my other projects. If you're looking at something from a higher elevation to lower elevation, it really looks like it goes down here. But if you go from lower to higher, from the magician's perspective, it's going to cast a shadow and it's not going to look nearly as good. Okay? So you have to trust, as the magician, that they cannot see anything at this point. What I do, though, is I use my thumbs to cover up some discrepant points. So right here, you'll notice that because this is folding around, it doesn't quite hit the edge of the 5. It comes just a little bit short. So I just hold the bill and cover that. You also see, because it's wrapping around, it juts out a little bit right here at this corner, so I cover this. This, even though you'll see it as a performer, they will not see. So I just go forward like this. It's a little bold, but I promise you, they don't see it. I'd show this to magicians. Magicians don't see it. Okay? And it's all in a natural context. You have to go for it with confidence. There's no reason that it shouldn't be what you say it is. So just believe it, and they'll believe it too. Okay? So you go forward like this. They sign. We're not going to sign it now, but they sign. Okay? Thank you, signer. Now I bring it back up. They see the signature. And this is the part that is a huge improvement over the original. Because what's going to happen is I'm going to take my thumb and I'm going to push it, my right thumb, I'm going to push it back. When I say it, I mean the flared edges of the 5. I'm opening right at the very middle of everything. The very middle of celestial existence. I'm going to go through the middle here and push it open, going kind of like the position we had before, except now it's the opposite. Before you're seeing this side, now you're seeing this side. But here's the really cool part. In the original promotion, they never saw the 5 with their signature in the same shot. They never did. So now when you're opening this, I'm making sure that my fingers are covering this 10. And because the colors are similar, the building is similar, and actually the building of the 5 still goes past the building on the 10. It looks like it's connected to the same building. So I open it up, and there's no reason they shouldn't think this is a 5. So I say, do you see your signed 5? They say yes. Or signed 5s if you're doing the fusion effect. Okay? So I'm in this position now, and this is so beautiful. You don't want to hold it, for days and days on end, but you don't have to rush it either. Okay? You can see this here. And now, I could just go into the change. I could go like this, and I could change it. But what I like to do is I like to show this 5 as well, the 5 that the 10 is currently covering. So I go into this position like this. And what I'm really doing with this hand away is I'm just kind of accordion folding the 10 backwards. This is kind of a game changer too when I figured this out. Okay, so you're here, and what I do is I go back with the crease here. What this does is it pops some air in here, and now when I take my left fingers and push it forward to make that accordion crease, it's not really a crease, it's just a fold. Okay, and I make this accordion fold here. It's not going to bring some of these with it, because sometimes it gets a little sticky and it brings like one of the layers of the 5 with it. You don't want that. That's why I fold back a little bit. That puts some air between the layers, and now I can push this forward and it will separate from the 5. That's super important. Okay, so I go back, then I push forward with my left hand, and as soon as I know I hit these fingernails here with my 10, that's when I angle my hand and I can display the 5. Now they can see both 5s. Super important. And again, the condition of the 10 is this. Okay, one here, go like this, and now I'm just going back and reversing my procedure. But as I'm doing it, now it's unfolded, but now I cover the 5 and display the 10. The thing is, though, they feel like they never lost sight of their signature. And that's what makes this so shocking. So they see their signature, and now you rub it, and you're just covering the 5 now and displaying the 10. I like to do a little super subtle convincer, and that is instead of putting my fingers here and keeping it really tight and really perpendicular, I just angle it to the side a little bit. So that way they see a little bit of a section here. It's not super important, but because you can, it just makes it look a little bit more free. And I think if it looks a little bit more free, it adds a lot more to the impact here. Okay, so you're in this position now. Remember, this is really the true position. And they start reacting because you just turned it into a 10. Awesome. Crazy, right? So what do you do at this point to clean up? Because it's not really a 10. There are a few different ways you can do this. What's super important at this point is not the actual mechanics that I'm going to explain, because I am going to explain the mechanics of it. What's super important is that you know the concept of what we're doing and you know your own body in your own hands. So what I explain might not fit your hands the way it fits my hands. So I'll teach you a few different ways to do it for sure. But at the end of the day, whatever fits you the best is what's important. The concept here is they think that it's already changed. So what do I need to do? I need to clean up. To clean up, we're going to use that lip, this lip right here. And I'm going to hold these 2 fingers together and I'm going to pinch them like this because I need to access my thumb inside here. So that's why you have the lip, because I just push forward and now I get inside the folds of the 10. And because my fingers are pinching, I'm going to pinch it up, and that's going to fold the 5s up and unfold the 10. But because my fingers are here, now I can peel off the folded 5s and bring it off and down to the corner. And then I can unfold the 10, okay? So, what's important to remember about this is that if you're folding 5s, this crease that you're making right now is not going to be pre-folded, even from the beginning of the routine. It's not going to be pre-folded. That's okay. It folds up very nicely, okay? So I go here. This is why I'm pinching here. One, to keep everything stable, but also it kind of gets a starting point to make that crease with the 5s. So I'm here, and the justification at this point is to try to just like solidify the new ink, apparently, right? Okay, so I'm just like adjusting it a little bit as I'm doing this. So I'm pinching here, I'm bringing my thumb in, I unfold as I grab these 5s here and go off to the side and then up. I want to show you what this looks like from the front. So this is right after the apparent change. This is when I bring my pointer finger down like this, as if I'm just kind of adjusting it. I bring my thumb down, right? Come over, boom, done. That's really all it is, okay? Just remember, at this point, the concept is more important than the actual mechanics. You need to unfold the 10, and as you're unfolding it, the 5s will fold up. So if that pinching action doesn't suit you, that's okay. Here's a slightly easier way to do it, okay? You can go here, and then in the same kind of headcanon of, oh, I need to wait for it to dry because it's new ink. I just changed it into a 10. This is 10 ink now, right? That's kind of your justification headcanon, because now if I want to, I can just come over, fold everything down overtly, and then just bring this down. They already think it's a 10, so now it's a 10, just happened to be folded in quarters. And again, the headcanon is, okay, let's make sure it's all dry now. And now the 5s are still in the same position here. Now I can unfold it again, and that's your 10. I don't like that as much. It's not ideal for me because you're making an unnecessary fold, an unnecessary overt fold. Okay, so if you can do the one that here, let's just go from the beginning here. So boom, boom, they sign it. I unfold, get ready for the change. I push forward. I see the 5s here. It comes back over. I apparently changed it. Now I need to clean up, so I go into pinch position. I pinch, unfold, refold, and then that's the 10. They see their signature apparently the whole time, super important. And now at this point, because this is in quarters, it's not really the position I want to end up in. So as I'm showing here, I can bring attention here as I take my thumb, push my thumb in the middle of it, kind of like in the vein of a Mercury card fold, right? I push in the middle of it and then these just come together. I don't need them to be creased. It doesn't need to feel great in my hand at this point because really all the attention's here, the effect is done. This is just getting it to be a little bit smaller of a packet, okay? It doesn't have to be neat and tidy by any stretch, okay? So you're at this point, they see their signature and you give it to them as a gift, okay? So from the beginning, this is the only preparation you have. You borrow 2 5s. You take the 5s, you fold them once, you fold them twice. As you're unfolding, you load the 10 on the back. Now it's in quarters. You refold, bring it down, have them sign it, apparently signing one of the 5s. Unfold everything again. They see the current condition. Now I'm going to push forward so they can see the 5s. I unfold. They see the 10. And now I'm just going to clean up, unfold, fold the packet into 8s like this, and then show them their 5. And if you want, you can go forward with the dirty hand. So naturally, if you can do the routine that we just did, you can do it with 1 5 as well. Okay? And really, there's nothing different except the premise. The premise is different because the other one was a fusion of 2 5s into a 10. This one would be a change of a 5 into a 10. So naturally, the only other difference would be you're giving away $5 when you're doing it. But think of the advantages of that. If I take a 5, they sign it, I change it, not only are they clearly going to want it back because it came from their pocket and it has their signature on it, so clearly they need to keep it, but it also makes you look really good as a performer. I'm not saying you have to do it this way. In fact, most of the time I do it the other way, okay? Because I don't want to lose money. My job is to make money being a magician, right? But every once in a while, you'll find that situation where you have somebody who is, you just feel like they're down on their luck. You want to really bring a smile to the face. Maybe you are in a position where you almost have a gig, but you really want to seal that deal. That would be great. Maybe there's a special guy or gal in your life that you really want to impress. This would be a way to do it.
With $5.
With $5, says my now wife. So what you do...
Now wife of 9 years.
Now wife of 9 years. So what you do is the same thing. It's the same thing, but your premise, of course, is different. So you fold it the same way. You load it the same way, of course. Because you're not using 2 5s, you're only using 1 5. You just be mindful of the fact that there are fewer layers to hide the fact that you're adding something on the back. So you have less of a margin of error, but it's nothing to worry about, okay? You take it like this. You do the same signing procedure. They sign. You open it back up. And then you do the same thing. It changes. And then you do the same cleanup. Okay? It's easier to go into 8s with only 1 5 as well. And then you hand it out. Again, my now wife, as she rightfully said, really, it's only $5. You're really going to impress somebody with that? Sometimes I find, in doing this so long, just magic in general, it's not necessarily Sometimes perception is more reality than reality is. When people get a generous offer like this and they see, whoa, you turn my $5 into $10, it feels like more than $5 at that point. It often does. It feels more than it actually is. Yeah, it's $5, but their feelings often supersede the cold hard numbers of the situation. And so, trust me, if you ever do want to try this, just changing a 5 to a 10, it's going to be tough to beat it. Okay, so let's talk about some credits to RePromoted. First of all, so I don't forget, Vincent Mendoza, I know I already mentioned him, but super important. He's the one that suggested fusing 5s together into a 10 instead of just going from a 5 to a 10. That was a game changer. Now you don't lose any money and you still get to perform this kick-ass effect. So cool. I love that. Thank you, Vincent, for your knowledge and expertise on that. Also, I suppose it's a weird credit, but I guess I have to credit Promotion, the original one. This wouldn't have happened if that wasn't a stepping stone to this point. And in the original Promotion, I credited Chad Long because he figured out that there is an ambiguous part of a 5 to a 20 that he used in one of his routines, and I used it in a different way with a signature. He didn't use it with a signature, but while I was already using that methodology with a 1 to an old 5, he's the one that made me realize, oh, just because the 5s changed doesn't mean I have to stop doing this effect. I can do it with other ones as well. So I have to credit Chad for that as well. I think it probably goes without saying, but you don't even need to use a signature. It is a beautiful effect just fusing 2 5s into a 10. That way you can reuse all the money. You don't even have to borrow 5s. You can use your own 5s, have them pre-creased, and then it can just be a pocket effect that you bring along as well. So it doesn't have to be signed, but I think the beauty of this method is that it lends itself to being signed. Another additional idea is that if you don't want to use a bunch of 10s over and over and over again, you can use one of these. This is a friction erasable marker. So you're probably familiar with friction erasable pens. The erasable pens are great, but they're pens. And they don't show up as well. So this is the same thing, but it's a marker form. The reason I don't use this that much, I have used it. The reason I don't use it as much is because it just doesn't look as good as a Sharpie. And I personally would rather just go through a bunch of 10s than use this one that just doesn't look as good. It just kind of makes the bill look not as crisp and clean of a signature. It works though. It absolutely works, and the signatures come off very clean. So if this is what you want to do and you don't want to go through the hassle of using a new 10 each time you do it, that's totally fine. Which brings me to the last thing that I want to go over, which is how do you do this practically? So there's a few different ways that you can think about this. I wouldn't do this table hopping. I wouldn't do it strolling. Technically you can though, because especially if you are using the 2 5s to a 10, you don't lose any money. So I would just go to the bank, get a bunch of 10s, and then perform with them and fold them each up. You get 2 5s, you give them the 10. You get 2 5s, you get the 10. You lose no money. Then you just go back to the bank and cash them all out for another pile of 10s. Okay, that would be the way I would do it. But for me, this effect is more of a special piece. It's not something that I want to do at every table. This would be something that I would do at the end of a gig when someone wants to see one more thing, or again, just kind of a special, more casual piece. So just because it's casual doesn't mean it doesn't have to be super powerful, which is why I would use this. Okay, but it doesn't have to be something you do table to table to table. But if you do want to, that would be the way to do it, in my opinion. You could also use the erasable pen. I would just get a pile of 10s and then just swap them out when they give you 2 5s. We really appreciate it. As a small family-owned business, it means more to us than you can possibly know. So thank you so much. Please leave a review in any and all places that you can leave a review. We'd love to get the word out, especially if you really like it. But even if you don't, we appreciate and welcome any and all reviews. I want to hear from you as well. If you have any great success stories with this effect or not so much, I want to hear from you. Any and all feedback is welcomed. So we appreciate you, and we'll see you next time. Okay, good.